um, gaslighting and gaslighting with by using the tool of patronizing and then being too self-critical as a result of this. That's one of the two contexts that I'd like to provide in opening up this episode here today. Like that I do those kinds of formulas where when I'm putting these episodes together, or even just thinking on my own and just thinking by myself, entertaining ideas and thoughts in my head, I like to put them together in a formula, as then I can apply that and use it practically as a method of actual use to me. So the first context is that, okay, is gaslighting with the tool of patronizing, and as a result of that, being too self-critical. The other context I'd like to provide is that the kind of person I am can tend to broadcast and speak in a manner as though I were some kind of teacher or guru or something like this. But I simply see that's not actually who I am. I'm not any kind of teacher or anything, and you shouldn't ever rely on a podcast as anything other than really just entertainment. Just as a quick, mild disclaimer. As for that context, let me expand on that just a little bit here, because what I would like to do in speaking on this topic is kind of provide the perspective of where I am personally with this stuff, and then other than just liking to hear the sound of my own voice and just hear myself talk, I'm not that fanatical. I'm not my own fan. I'm not that much of my own fan that it's much of that. And that's not much of what it is. I think what it is more of is just as the natural thought process, like as the natural thought progresses, and naturally the way that I'm thinking naturally does that. But I'm providing this second context as I would like you, the listener, and possibly even me, the host, to be aware of that, be aware of the pitfalls that may provide. I would like to stray from being a teacher of any kind, as that has way too many pitfalls. So, with that amount of pitfalls, it's going to distract away from the actual content that I'm providing here, and like what I'm actually, I could potentially be considered a source of in my content. As those are my opening lines, I would like to start the introduction now. You are with this background noise too. I hope you guys drop a comment on this, because it's like, no worries. Like I'm not going to be a rude person commenting back on anything if you say, hey, did you know that there's a bunch of background noise and all that stuff. Anyway, let's get started here. The introduction, okay? This is the Vault of Doom podcast, episode 94, gaslighting, patronizing, and being too self-critical as a result of this. I'm your host. My name's Mickeygemineye, one-man solo project, that I'm running is still quite a tedious task. So as 3 weeks three weeks out now from my last sneak peek of this track that I've been working on. It's I want to try to touch on this topic just a sec. I consider this a lot more enjoyable than actual content and actual podcasting. This time I'm actually talking about music for 5 seconds before I get into this psychological phenomenon known as gaslighting. This track, this sneak peek that I'm working on. Okay, I mentioned I'm working on this, but it's just I'm working on this in the studio now. The song itself has actually been brewing for a few years, and I think that I might have wrote it probably in 2021 when this podcast started, I think. I don't know. However, aside from all the stuff that I have vaulted... Oh, and I almost forgot my catchphrase. The world is doomed and metal is doomed. So let's get into this fucking topic here, because I think I'm already done talking about that sneak peek. Anyway, go and check it out. It's at youtube.com/@ Dire Mood BM. DIARMUID BM. This is the latest track. It seems to be hitting really good, actually. I checked on the views just yesterday and found out that it's the significance of the number 36 views. That's a hot number for black metal such as this. And so, with that said, before I also get into the topic, there's one more thing I want to get into. I just seem to have slipped my mind, and never the matter, as I have actually some notes for this episode. So I want to break the ice a little bit here, get going, and then I'll bust out my notes, and we'll conclude another chapter in the Vault of Doom podcast, hosted by me, MickeyGemineye. So the thing is about this topic, I'm perhaps, a podcaster, I suppose. Maybe I'm a podcaster, maybe other people have to decide that for me. I don't know. However, this is a podcast that I'm currently recording an episode of. So, does that make me a podcaster? I don't know. I won't think too much up in the air, because that is a rabbit hole that you can go down. These are channels or avenues you can go down. And what I'm aiming to do here in this episode on this show is provide a little bit of insight into, I'm perhaps doing this topic because it's trending. It's a trending topic. It's a trending topic not just in the world of podcasting. It's a trending topic as a current phenomena in current events in terms of what's going on in the world right now. This is relevant. This is current news. And, this isn't a context, but it is something maybe that I can give to you, the listener, for the time being, to listen to play with and sort of use to provide feedback, or jump in the comments and jump into the comments section to start a thread, or jump into my Instagram and Threads and start a thread. I should say before I go into this though, everything on my Instagram and Threads is all content. I don't have conversation threads. I don't have threads up for real conversation. I don't have, the things that most people do, where they're saying something, and then other people can comment, and then you can start a thread, start a conversation in the threads section through text format. Everything that's on all my profiles is photos, videos, links that I'm sharing from my music projects, or links for this show. So do drop a comment, start a thread right here on this YouTube video. Anyhow, let's get back to the what I'm giving you, just before I lose my train of thought again. What I'm giving you to play with here is like who each person is that might be experiencing the gaslighting, right? You know, like in terms of society. What's your societal standpoint? Are you, the lower class, the poor, middle class, proletariat, or are you the rich 1%er? Because these are going to be three different types of perspectives of people experiencing the gaslighting, and it's going to affect all the factors. It's going to affect all the factors that would make somebody experience this phenomena, right? This is the depth under which I'm speaking on it, and this is the depth. This is where I'm at in terms of how I'm speaking on this, right? It's like it could be considered just potential, or philosophical, or in the realm of thought and conceptual and stuff like that. But it's still personal. When it comes down to, it's still one individual and one person and one personal perspective. Where, well, let's say that hypothetically the person's a middle class, minimum wage, and middle-aged man experiencing gaslighting. They react in the way that they react. It's not important how they react, but they do. What is important is that either they do or do not take a chronicle and record of it somehow, be it a journal or a vlog, or they're sharing it with the world. Anything that I could say from where I stand on the issue, in terms of personal experience, I'm juggling a lot. I seem to be maybe juggling a lot here, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't work for me to talk about my personal experience with this phenomena. I can't, basically. So, in other words, if I do experience anything similar to it, I just have to kind of fucking deal with it, basically. So, who I'm speaking on is that hypothetical middle-aged, middle-class man that is experiencing gaslighting, takes journal of it, years go by, maybe 3 years or so, and then the person rereads what he wrote in the journal and says, oh yeah, I remember when this happened, and da-da-da-da-da. This could be important. I mean, that's important to providing the context of a hypothetical situation, right? However, what's more important than that importance level would be the individual, the man himself, and what he would use that record for, or that memory of that happening, or that occurrence of that thing happening for. It's just like, anybody who's really mad, really angry, really frustrated, as a lot of people are right now with the way that the world is at, the state of the world, the way that the world is moving right now, you just be like, just lesson learned, alright? Learn your lesson, or the moral of the story is this, or blah, blah, blah. Just be done with it, learn your lesson and be done with it, and then it's over with. But ultimately, I'm playing with this topic and touching on this topic and juggling this around to, without me having to say it, it would be nice. Without me having to explicitly state things, that'd be nice. But here I am, right now, explicitly stating that it's for the sake of conversation. It's for the sake of having something to talk about. And and I'm laughing because it takes a lot to get me angry. But I do have a short fuse. At the same time, does that make sense? Probably not. I don't know. But with the hypothetical situation out of the way, okay, that's why I'm providing the first. I'm going to revert back to the first context I've already provided, and that's the formulas. I can revert back to formulas when all else fails. I have a formula that I've provided to begin with. I'm providing my own context here out of habit at this point. It literally isn't even intentional. But there's maybe, me reverting back to the formula, going to have some new avenues and junctures to traverse. So here we go. Now, the tool of patronizing, right? Let's use the root word, a bit of etymology for you. Sorry guys, I just remembered actually, before we get started on that, the other thing that I wanted to use to open up the episode, since the episode's still kind of fresh, we're still kind of at the beginning of this one, so here we go, here it goes. You guys didn't think that I would fucking leave you like that, do you? I mean, fuck. If you notice, and I'm sure that anybody who listens, is an avid podcast listener, will, this whole season, every season actually, has all been uploaded out of order, and it's a bit of a mess. It's a chaotic mess. But that's life, right? That's the way that it is. That's the way things are. That's the way that the cookie crumbles. But at any rate, anyhow, nonetheless, folks, ladies and gents, ladies and germs, I didn't fucking leave you like that. I wouldn't do that. So here I am, jumping back, and I'm feeling way better from feeling way refreshed from having that little, focus more on the music time, just in case I'm gonna bark at myself later for not saying that I said it. I had to take a break from the podcast for a little bit. Focus on the music. Thus you have a sneak peek at the badass, what should be supposed to be badass death metal song, but it's not. Folks, it's a fusion. It's actually a hybrid, and you can tell in the sneak peek. It's as much death metal as I can stand. Don't get me wrong, I like me some death metal, especially brutal death. But the sneak peek that I provided with what the track consists of so far, that's about as much death metal as I can handle. I have to now even wait on that sneak peek to fuck it up and make it my beloved, be wedded. Whatever. Anyway, So I'm sort of spreading this little thin here. All I'm saying is, don't bother trying to tell me that the episodes are out of order. I won't be an asshole if you do, though. I would probably say something if you said in the comments, "Hey, your episodes numbers are out of order. It's a mess." I'd probably say, "Nice observation. Good job. Thanks." I might be struggling with a little bit here and a little bit there and a few things, but I'm not struggling with that. And so I've done this episode here as the beginning of fucking, let's just patching up this season as we as we way beyond surpass episode 100. Going above and beyond and shooting for the moon. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. The formula that I'm providing is assisting in this matter here. The tool of patronizing is what allows gaslighting to occur. The gaslighting occurs in the individual. Okay, context already provided. Now let's get into the mechanics of this. Let's get into the quantum mechanics a little bit of this. The gaslighting is occurring in the individual. The patronizing is, and it's one of those, it's all in your head. If I wanted to fucking second guess myself or be on the fence about it, I'd name the episode "It's All in Your Head" or something like that. And I am like that, don't get me wrong. That's why I mention it, because I am sometimes on the fence about things and stuff. But I'm not right now. So back from the music, feeling refreshed, rocking it out, grinding it out, pounding it out. Here we go. Alright, yeah. So the gaslighting is occurring in an individual, and as I said, I've already provided the second. Revert back to the second context. I'm just saying. The gaslighting is occurring in an individual. There's no one is actually providing the gaslighting to you. Nobody is actually gaslighting. There can be, maybe the potentiality of something other than what I'm saying, but ultimately, it's the same philosophical motif as that your eyes are creating the light, like the light is created by your eyes, sort of philosophical motif. And so that would probably be the same thing as gaslighting. That if you're being gaslit, it's all in your head. That's you. That's your thing. That's your task. That's your thing. That's what your job is, or what you're handling, what you're dealing with, taking care of, and all that stuff. The patronizing is great, Trojan horse. But that's something that, well, the other is doing the patronizing, and they sort of have to witness you receiving the patronizing sort of thing. So back to the etymology thing where I was with stuff, that the root word of it being patron. Okay, and so well, that's in case you don't know what patronizing is. That's where you're like, sarcastically telling somebody a good job, or great job on the game. I don't think that's right. No, I don't think that's correct. I think patronizing. Here's what I think. I think patronizing is actually more of. I think that's wrong, but I think what patronizing is more of is like. I'm witnessing and observing a threat to my personal safety, So, as a result of this, because I see this threat approaching, so I'm going to load him up full of compliments and gifts, etc., and that's patronizing. So you're basically like rewarding somebody for something that they don't deserve, or that they can never explain anything about, or never be able to explain, to rationalize in their own head what they deserve this for, or any of that stuff. So you can start with patronizing and then lead to gaslighting, where after that, after you've successfully patronized somebody, you can just fucking full out tell them they're crazy about everything. But this is where we kind of segue now into from where how I would like to or would not like to, how I might be perceived as, how I might not be perceived as, or what I'm intentionally going for, what goal that I'm not intentionally, is unintentionally going for, of from teaching, being like a teacher, advice giver, guru kind of guy, to well, now it just sounds like war tactics. Like in the mental warfare, in the war of mental warfare, then these would sound like battle tactics, or like war tactics, or something like that. And and essentially, okay, whether any of this jumps off or not, people like it or not, is irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter to me. You reap what you sow, so they say. And I won't get too far now. I've already done plenty of that in fucking all the previous seasons of the show. So if you want to hear a lot of that style that I provided, go to the previous seasons and check them out. I've made this extremely convenient for you, as they're all well organized and separate and individually wrapped, and in separate and individual playlists for each season. So this quick self-promotion, as well as the solo music project that I'm working on right now. Go to youtube.com/@DiarMoodBM, DiarMuidBM. Go check it out. There's a few albums. There's a few singles from upcoming. When you're done swiping on Tinder, looking for singles on there, be at DiarMoodBM and be square. Fucking back to the topic here. So the fucking goddamn motherfucking world is doomed and metal is doomed. And in this whole episode here, I'm just talking about gaslighting, patronizing, and being too self-critical. So anyway, back to the formula. So the gaslighting is occurring in the individual. The fucking goddamn motherfucking patronizing's something that somebody else is actually doing, and then the result of this is that the victim, you could say, because it is a victim. It is a victim consistent crime. It's not a crime, but it's morally a crime. It's a moral crime. Like morally, you're fucking yourself morally when you do this. So it's the victim that experiences not only the gaslighting, but the symptoms that can be observed with the naked eye are that you're being too self-critical. Everything else that comes after that is just a fucking big ass mess. sort of, you have to pretty much just kind of have no choice but to like back out at that point. You just have to bail. And otherwise, unless you already did, and then you fucking don't have to worry about any of that shit then. Well, then you don't even have to fucking listen to me. What the fuck are you listening to me for then? Because you fucking didn't give anyone the chance to do this to you, you know? But this can affect, all that other stuff, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna speak on that. I'm not there. I'm not on that. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers it. But now we have to get into where the term gaslighting. Convincing someone that they're crazy. What are the implications of it, right? What can this be used for? And it just really all boils down to it makes things easier for people to do things. So if you're a businessman, for example, and you're running a business, then you would want your business to thrive. So all around the world, I'm very myopic in that I think that a lot of it is just exclusively American and exclusively what part of America and all this other stuff. But it's all around the world. People are like this. There are plenty of other avenues and options and ways to go down, and plenty of other choices to make. and especially ones that I spend my time enjoying, talking about, and sharing. So, where I am actually, who I actually am, in the midst of all this, is, where I'm above that. So it puts me in a bit of a vulnerable position because of this, and so, thus, this episode, and this show, and me making a show and talking about this stuff, it just renders it me blabbing, fucking meaningless. It doesn't mean anything, aside from entertainment. So I try to make it entertaining with the self-promotion and a couple little quirky comments that I make. But other than that, these kinds of episodes I don't find nearly as enjoyable or entertaining as talking about the actual music and all the specific details, deep dive details, deep cut details on music. It's a bit of a chore, actually, but it still is me. At the end, essentially, I'm still assuming a bit of responsibility that I don't need to do. And, so I'm just like, right now, well, let's get these out of the way. I got these concepts and these titles and topics pre-written, and I pre-write them, and then I'm like, let me just get these out of the way so I can focus back on the music and all that shit. But anyway, Here we have the conclusion, right? The conclusion being that what I'm thinking about these scenarios, what I'm thinking about the existence of such things, is that, maybe this is what it is. Maybe that is what it is. really, ultimately, it's just if somebody is actually experiencing this, then it still just matters to them. It still just matters to that person, and it's ultimately would be defined as solipsistic, and anybody else other than me. Right now, it's just me blabbing. There could be somebody jumping on the comments section after the video's uploaded, and then have someone say, sort of mincing words and splitting hairs, and that's where I would get. I'm not enjoying this too much, but if and when somebody comments on it, I'll be enjoying that conversation. I'd be enjoying the conversation of a bit of a debate, sort of debating a little bit, where. I can't get too hypothetically on this, on these dangerous terrain, I would call it. But if I did, I would say like something like, let's say hypothetically somebody says, no, it's not myopic, it's solipsistic, and I would say, yes, you are correct. I'm not arguing with you. The circumstances define this scenario as solipsistic. Where myopic comes into play is that it would result in the victim being myopic. Where everybody's telling you you're crazy, everybody's telling you you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, and then your world gets smaller and littler, and then you have no fucking way of seeing outside of your little box, because everybody's telling you you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, and then you're gonna be fucking working extra hard as a result. Then that's a lot of work. That'd be a lot of fucking work. That'd be a shitload of work. That'd be just about as much work as taking care of a child or something. And it seems to me like it's still, because the circumstances define it as solipsistic, it still boils down to the victim and his or her, he, she, we, they, them's perception, what they perceive this as. So in other words, there's a lot of gaslighting. Ultimately, in conclusion, there's a lot of gaslighting going on in the world right now. A whole shitload of it. And when the smoke clears, you can kind of maybe, if you haven't already, and you're not already working on it, if you're experiencing it yourself personally, wait till the fucking smoke clears, and then then you can start seeing, if you want to be that person who wants to wait for the smoke to clear. But I don't see any use in it. I think it would be useless at that point. But it seems I'm actually all tapped out at this point right here. I'm just like, it seems I'm all tapped out in providing my perspective. And so, there you have it, guys. I mean, make of it what you will, but please tell me what you make of it, so that I don't wind up being a gaslit motherfucker. God damn it. And people that fucking listen to my show, there are quite a few of you. You know that I don't fucking leave you hanging. So I gotta slowly start walking back down, climbing back down here. Doing all this talking up in the air, you gotta climb down. You gotta climb back down. That's a lot of talking up in the air. On the air, up in the air. Speaking of air, I hope you guys, before you say anything or before you think too much about what I have said here today, I hope that you recall and utilize the context that I'm providing. Where I'm providing the context for a reason, other than that, my formulas that I like to call them, my formulas that I'm sharing, these are just me getting this shit off, getting this shit off of the make line, as it were. These things fucking come to me, I write them down, and then I often write these things down, and then sometimes just share them orally through auditory means. Or if you're deaf, you can watch this with the closed caption feature on YouTube. But that's why I'm saying that the make line, as it were. Gotta get these off the make line here. Gotta just fucking get fucking disco, woohoo. Let's do this. Let's do this thing. And anyway, speaking of doing this thing, I fucking got some more fucking podcasts to make. So I'm bouncing out of here. Let it roar. Just as a real quick addendum, I'm going to actually leave that in, and connect these real quick, because I didn't do the notes. I didn't reference back to my notes. So, what I did talk about is, being morally bankrupt. And basically, that's just, either side, in the event of any gaslighting, patronizing, or being self-critical, both parties are compromising their integrity and their peace of mind. And if you are a regular person, that's the that's the segue. That's where I'm gonna do the segue into, that is that. Okay, that's that. So that's that. And then, if any of this occurs in the realm and world of content creating at all, then it's specifically for this reason. It's for clickbait. It's for making episodes and content that compromise your integrity and peace of mind, and gaslight people, convince them they're crazy, or patronize people, or make them feel self-critical, and manipulating them and stuff like that. That you're doing it for. It's selling your soul. That's what it is. It's like, well, if that's the only fucking way in, is it? Is it not? I don't know. From where I stand, it's not important either fucking way. It's just that I'm still talking about it right now, but I'm still, the way that I do it, very vulnerable to being patronized, to being gaslit, to where for some reason or other I'm still doing it wrong. I don't know. I'm still doing it wrong. I don't know. I'm just fighting the fucking war or losing battle, just like everybody else. Anyway, that's the one note here, okay? And then the other thing is, something that I'm seeing as a message on my phone, where I'm getting a good idea, is I have to ask myself, before I can even start to begin assessing whether I'm being gaslit or not, or whether any of this stuff's happening to me personally at all or not, I have to ask myself, hey, what is this that I'm seeing in my message? So, it is taken personally. It's just I have to assume that it is. No one's ever above suspicion, so to speak. And I'm getting a message from a person, an artist that I recently did an episode on in interviewing them, and he's telling me on the podcast, he's saying he started making his music at this time, and then he's sending a message and he's saying he started making music way later than when he said. So, I've let that slip by until I was ready to do this episode, but now here I am talking about right now doing this episode, but addressing the situation without confrontation or with confrontation. I mean, I just have to figure out, maybe if I revert back to that other note that I just said, maybe it has something to do with somebody's doing something to boost their credibility, or they're selling their soul or something like that. I don't know. But what I do know is, at this fucking juncture and at this time, with how old that I am, with how many years that I've been on the planet, and just the planet Earth in general, or whatever kind of spectrum you would like to prefer to looking at it, at this juncture and at this time, I mean, all this stuff from people like being perceived, being witnessed by people like me, being seen by people like me, it just seems so dull, stale. I couldn't understand the point of it when I saw this, that the time that this person says that he started making music contradicts when he says that he started making music at a different time. I was a bit flabbergasted. I thought about reaching out, but I'm already in all the comments all the fucking time, and I don't even get like a regular ass. I don't even get a regular. If you can't have a regular conversation with me, I'm not gonna fucking address you on something that I consider to be very serious. Like, is he lying? Are you lying? Are you lying about when you started making music? I couldn't understand the fucking point. I wouldn't be able to begin understanding the fucking point. What's the point of you? Why the fuck would you? What the fuck is the point of lying about it? So then it's just ultimately just frustrating. It's literally like a mosquito bite, man. It's just like, so I should probably feed the BetterHelp and therapy and therapist industry and get a therapist to tell them about it instead of blabbing about it on YouTube. That's also gaslighting. That's gaslighting. Is saying like, well, hey, the way that I want to structure and do my show and do my own podcast is unacceptable or something like that. I don't know. You would have to address it in a way that basically, that one of the founding fathers said, if you don't succeed, try again. But I'm not a fucking forefather or founding father, and I'm me, and I say, do something that makes sense and do something that works, and then fucking fuck everything else, honestly. Who gives a fuck about anything else? Whatever, fuck it, fuck that shit. If you just need somebody to talk to or need something like that, then just say it. Just say something like that. Don't fucking make me extremely confused about whether I'm going to be a victim here or something like that. I don't know, but here I am talking about it right now. It's being addressed right now. Seems to be fully addressed at this exact moment right now, and it could be anything coming my way as a result of that. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care at all. But it's strange. It's weird. Anyway, fucking that's all my notes. As I'd like to close off this episode here, fellow streamer that I watch, I was in the chat with him and found this tasty little nugget of how to say goodbye in Russian. So here we go. I'm going to try to pronounce this. I know it's not going to be right, but here we go. Kak dela pokanirodila. Kak dela pokanirodila. I guess that's how you say goodbye in Russian. Anyways, guys, kak dela pokanirodila. Alright, have a good one. Take care of yourselves, guys. And see you next time. Till next time.